What's up, everybody? Welcome into week 13 of Fantasy Fridays. It's your guy D Mac. We got Manny here. We took last week off, but we're here with a a slate, I should say, of NFL games for the Thanksgiving holiday. Obviously, three games that already passed: Black Friday today, and obviously a full slate of Sunday games and a Monday Night Football game to pick from. We're here to get you guys right with your fantasy must-start guys. Manny, how you doing today, man?
I'm not doing too bad. Hopefully, Jaden's doing well. If we can get him back a couple weeks from now, maybe even this week, who knows? But as far as our season outlook, it's pretty much done. We're just trying to build for next year. But how about you, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good. Fortunately, my Chiefs actually were able to get a victory. Now, at the time of recording this, I have no idea. We could have lost to the Cowboys, so we'll find out, I guess, when this ends up getting posted. Look, the reality situation is not disappointing year for the Commanders, but at the end of the day, at least you're not the Falcons, and you have your first round pick for 2026. It could always be worse.
It could. It really could.
Could always be worse. With that being said, we'll go ahead and jump into our fantasy must starts. I'm going to go and start here with my quarterback start of the week. I'm going with Jacoby Brissett. He has been one of the most consistent quarterbacks in the National Football League as far as fantasy is concerned. Since he has taken over for Kyler Murray in the last 4 weeks, he has consistently been a top at least 8 finisher at the position, which is crazy to say about Jacoby Brissett, but he is getting it done even with Marvin Harrison Jr. out of the lineup. He's done a good job getting the ball to McBride, good job getting to Greg Dortch, and good job getting to Michael Wilson as well. Great matchup versus Tampa Bay. We saw the way that the Rams took advantage of that Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense on Monday Night Football. I expect that this will be a good start for Jacoby Brissett. Manny, who's your quarterback start of the week?
I'm going to have to go with Bo Nix here. You're one of your foes there, but I think he has a great. Coming off a bye week, I think he has a great matchup. Obviously, going against one of the worst defenses. Even though Dan Quinn did take over, I still think that they're pretty good. They're pretty much gonna have their way with us. So I like Bo Nix's matchup. I like his ability to spread the ball around, and I think they're gonna have some explosive plays.
It certainly had a good game versus us, and is going to be coming off the bye week, so I'm sure they have something specific as far as the game plan is concerned versus the Commanders. Who's your running back start of the week?
I'm just gonna have to stay in the same game. I think everybody's just gonna have a feast this Thanksgiving weekend. But I think R.J. Harvey, taking over for J.K. Dobbins, has been placed on IR. I think last week, his last game before the bye week, it was a little bit of a dud. I think he only had 8 fantasy points PPR. But he did have the volume that you did want. I think if he has the same amount of touches this week, even a little bit more, I think he's gonna have those explosive plays. I think there's gonna be a boom week for R.J. Harvey.
Yeah, look, obviously, we can just kind of say now that we're at this point in the season, the Chiefs just seem to be a very tough running back matchup. Obviously, we saw it versus Jonathan Taylor last week. He had maybe one of his worst games of the season, probably the worst game of his season to this point. And obviously, RJ Harvey did not have a good first outing. However, we both believe in his talent, and it's a good matchup versus the Commanders as well. I'm going to roll with Travis Etienne as far as my running back start of the week. I think he's got a great matchup versus Tennessee, had a good game versus them first time around. Tootin still banged up, dealing with that ankle injury. We'll see how much run he ends up getting. Jaguars should be in control of this game. Etienne should get the snaps necessary to have a really good fantasy day, in my personal opinion. So he should be good to insert into you guys' lineups. As far as my wide receiver start of the week, I'm going to roll with Michael Wilson of those Arizona Cardinals. Stay in that same matchup. I love what we've seen from Michael Wilson. He was a draft crush of mine. I know we both liked him a lot coming out of the draft. Now he's getting an opportunity without Marvin Harrison Jr. in the lineup. We'll see if Marvin ends up returning for this game. Even still, I think that he could have a good matchup once again versus that Tampa Bay Buccaneers secondary that has given up a lot of fantasy points as well. Who's your wide receiver start of the week?
Man, we love some Michael Wilson. But I was actually going to be my pick. So I'm going to have to, don't kill me for this, but I'm going to stay in the Washington game. I think Cortland Sutton, hasn't been having his best weeks recently with Troy Franklin taking over, and then even getting some Pat Bryant looks in. But I do think that he's going to score at least a touchdown this week and have some two of those big plays that pretty much are going to be all you need for him to stay relevant this week.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that at all. Like Sutton's got a good matchup. Sutton, Nick's stack, and I'm going with the Brissett and Michael Wilson stack. Hit me with your tight end start of the week.
Tight end, I'm gonna have to go with Brenton Strange. I think with even Brian Thomas, even he might come back a little bit, but I do think with Brenton Strange coming back from IR, he was getting involved pretty early. I think that's going to continue. Like the Trevor Lawrence loves to His first reads are usually in the slot and the tight ends. I think he's had a great connection with them. I think he's going to have a decent week this week.
Yeah, I like that call as well. Look, I was gonna say, Brent Strange came back last week, had a really good game. Good to see him come off IR right back into the fray, and it certainly has a nice matchup there versus Tennessee. We'll see. As far as my start of the week, I'm going to go with Juwan Johnson of the New Orleans Saints. Again, having a consistent output. Was a little bit concerned after the change over to Tyler Shook, what would happen. Seems like him and Shook have a really good rapport, and he gets Miami Dolphins here that are giving up the fourth most fantasy points to the tight end position so far in this league. As far as opponent adjusted, I think that he will continue to be Tyler's favorite target, and he'll be able to get in the end zone and have himself another good fantasy outing at all key, all too important tight end position for you guys. So that's going to be our fantasy starts of the week. Hope you guys enjoy your Thanksgiving holiday. Enjoy the weekend. Peace out.